Well, hey folks, and welcome to the first of what will be a series of beginner tutorials, instructional videos featuring information magic sleight of hand from the Mark Wilson Complete Course in Magic. And hey, before we get started, if this sounds like your jam, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, then you'll stay informed of future videos. Thank you. So let's talk about the Mark Wilson course just before we get started here. This book, revolutionary, published in like the early 80s. This is 500 pages of well-illustrated beginner's magic. You'll find cards, which we're going to discuss today. Cards, money magic, coins, ropes, mentalism, and stage stuff, theory, history, it's all in here. If you're looking for a good start on learning the craft of prestidigitation, legerdemain, illusion, I recommend this book. You can visit my website, conjure.com. I've got a recommended reading list there. This one's at the top of the list. Check out our magic books at conjure.com. Mark Wilson course. So the Mark Wilson course, it opens up with first some basic terminology, a little bit of history, but the first thing it starts really teaching is basic card handling. And I thought, wow, this is going to be a fine place for us to start this tutorial series. You know, I've done quite a few videos online, I've done some lives, and I do get a lot of requests from magic noobs or novices that just need to know how to handle a deck of cards. So we're going to talk about a few shuffles, a few flourishes, and a couple sleights that will get you started on doing some good, strong card magic. And hey, at the end of this video, I'm going to tie it all up, and we're going to learn one of the world's all-time great card tricks. All right, card handling. Let's start here. Let's make this a lot easier for you to begin with. Get a good deck of cards. If you're using a deck of cards that you've had in the kitchen drawer for 6 years and have got peanut butter and jelly on them, and you're just going to be fighting an uphill battle, the standard, the one that I use most of the time, is the Bicycle brand. I prefer red. I think the color stands out better. And you can get these at like Walmart, 2 for $4, or Walgreens. Speaking of Walgreens, I should mention this. Walgreens has recently added the Theory 11 decks to their list. If you want a nicer deck, go with something like the Monarchs or maybe the Artesians. These will run you like 3 or 4 times the cost of a Bicycle pack, but they're good decks and recommended. And you can find them at Walgreens, sometimes on sale. That's what I do. So yeah, my theory is if you're going to use a deck, use one that your audience can see in their everyday life. You know, there's a lot of vanity decks, a lot of unique cards that are out there, and those just look funny sometimes. But if you use something like red bicycles, well, then they know it's something they see at Walmart. All right, that's advice number 1. Now let's start with the moves. We're going to begin with, well, I'm just going to begin where I learned my first move, which is the Overhand Shuffle. This is a way to mix the deck of cards. You probably see this style of shuffle played in your family games and such. It's not the best way to shuffle a deck, but it's one of the best ways to control cards with sleight of hand. Let me first explain the basic shuffle. There's kind of 2 ways you can approach this, but either way, the right hand grip is about the same. I'm going to assume you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, forgive me and just switch it up, and I'm sorry. All right, so the main grip is between your thumb and really the second finger and the third a little bit, but mainly these 2, and then the finger on top maintains a little bit of a break for some of the action. The third finger can come into play, and sometimes the little pinky will be at the bottom. It's kind of a modified straddle grip, but those are the 2 main pressure points. These other things are just for a little support if you need it. The other hand will be receiving cards in what's a palm-up grip. You'll be pulling cards off the top with your thumb, either in batches or one at a time in clumps, and this is an overhand shuffle. Pretty simple, and that's why we're starting here. Take note, you can alleviate the thumb and just throw cards. People do that as well. That's option 2, but you're going to have a little more control with the thumb. Now, what I'm going to do here with each shuffle is include a sleight of hand bit of information, a little lesson that uses each move. So for the overhand shuffle, we're going to talk about a jog shuffle, in particular the in-jog shuffle. And here's what that is. As I'm doing the overhand shuffle, at some point my thumb, the right hand's going to move inward, and my thumb's going to pull just a single card and leave it jogged inward towards me a little bit. And then I'm going to continue the shuffle away from that jog. So one card will be pronounced from that spot. Using my thumb, I can lift up on that jog and then continue the shuffle, and that brings me back to where I was. So for example, if I want to keep that 2 on top, I start the shuffle, do a jog, shuffle off, lift up at the jog. You can either cut or shuffle off and come back to that position. Now, how can this be useful? Well, if you could do a pick a card trick with this, right? So you have your friend pick a card. I'll just turn this face down, but we're using the 2 of spades. So your friend picks a card. You begin shuffling and you say, hey friend, just say stop. Stop. Put your card back wherever they stop you. And then you begin the shuffle. In jogging the first one, shuffling off. And then all you have to do is either shuffle or cut at that in jog. And now you'll have their selected card on top of the deck. That's just one application for a jog shuffle. But let's start learning that, how to jog cards and shuffle off or jog cards and cut to that jog. And now you're on your way to learning sleight of hand. So the overhand shuffle, valuable. It's a good off-the-table technique, but you're probably going to want to learn the riffle shuffle. This is a kind of a casino quality shuffle where the cards are riffled off the thumbs, either at the inner end or the inner corner. And this gives you a little more control. It's going to be applicable to a lot more gambling, sleight of hand style routines. And let's discuss the basics here first, okay? The riffle shuffle. Start by cutting about half the deck, or exactly half the deck, as close as you can get it to the right side. The grip on this is your 3rd finger and the thumb, and also the 2nd finger. So these 2 fingers on the outer long ends, thumb on the inner ends, and then your 4-finger is on top. Pinkies at the end can be helpful, like if you brace the end of the deck with your pinkies, kind of boxing in the deck, that's helpful as well. But in general, I'll just approach the deck by cutting. I hold my fingers right here, and then I begin riffling at the inner corners with my thumb. And we're going to weave the cards together. You'll find this is real easy to do if you begin with one corner overlapping the other. Lift up. Now my fingers are kind of pressing down a little bit, just a little bit of downward pressure. My 2nd and 3rd fingers are also pressing down as my thumbs pull up. That's what allows those cards to riffle together off the corners. And then using the 3rd finger or the pinky as the brace at the end, we talked about the pinky, you can use the 3rd fingers to square the deck together. So that's the riffle shuffle, cutting the deck to the right, fingers on the outer ends, 2nd and 3rd fingers, thumb pulling up, 4-finger pushing down, interweaving those corners, bracing the deck with the fingers, and then pushing it together. This will require maybe a little more practice, a little more hand strength. You might need to develop some thumb and finger, fortitude before you get this right. But once you do, you'll have a valuable technique. And much like the jog shuffle, you can use it to control cards. This can get real deep. Let me talk about the most basic thing you'll want to learn to do with this. The most basic thing you'll want to learn is how to keep a card on top when you shuffle. Whoops. Sometimes if you make the illusion of clumsiness, that will disarm your audience. So yeah, so practice shuffling, but keeping that card on top, just letting it drop last or close to last. Maybe do that. Just concentrate on one card. That's going to be more valuable than anything. So just let that one card fall last. Likewise, with that technique, practice it from the bottom. So maybe let that card fall first, keeping that one card on the bottom. You could let a packet drop. The idea is just to maintain control of either a bottom stack or a top stack. As these lessons go on, eventually we'll get into some full deck controls. I'll mention one that I have a tutorial on already that's on the featured clip playlist. Di Vernon's Triumph Shuffle. This is a false riffle style shuffle where it looks like you shuffle face up cards into face down cards. Boy, that looks pretty good, face down and face up. But in reality, you're able to control all the cards back the way they were except for a selection. This is kind of a intermediate riffle shuffle trick, the Triumph Shuffle. Look for the tutorial on that. And there's how to riffle shuffle, a couple ideas how you might use that, and that leads us to the Hindu Shuffle. The Hindu Shuffle is very popular in Asia. This is the Hindu Shuffle. Okay, this is holding the cards again by the long ends, kind of like a Riffle Shuffle grip, thumb at one end, second and third finger at the short end. It's closer to the inner corners, not so much the middle, but the inner corners. The receiving hand will be palm up, the forefinger kind of at the front. It's going to make kind of a boxy kind of grip so that as the cards come up, the forefinger prevents them from sliding off. And what you'll be doing is lifting with the thumb and the third finger, or the second finger, thumb and the birdie finger, and pulling packets off the main pile into the other hand. Whoa. Down, boy, down. Yeah, it's not as hard as it seems. I'm messing it up, but it's easy. It's the Hindu Shuffle. You just pull packets off the top. You can use this for key card placement and for card force. And we'll be using both of those techniques in the trick I'm going to teach you at the end of this. The Red Hot Mama, or the Chicago Opener. It's a great card trick. We'll get into it in just a minute. But yeah, that's the Hindu Shuffle. At the inner end, fingers pulling into a receiving hand, boxed with the forefinger at the front, and just shuffle off. So how can you use this as a force? Well, if you have a force card on the face of the deck, anything but the 9 of diamonds, because that's the Curse of Scotland, or a joker, because that's a duplicate. We'll use, there's a good force card, Penn and Teller's favorite, the 3 of clubs. So it's on the bottom. Take note, when you do the Hindu Shuffle, you don't have to pull right off the top. You can start pulling off the bottom and then shuffle off the top, and that'll keep your force card on the bottom. So start off the bottom, then shuffle off the top, and that allows you to keep the force card there. Now when you want to force it, just say, hey friend, I'm going to shuffle, just say stop. And when they say stop, tap it square and then show your friend the right hand face card. This is the Hindu Shuffle force. It's a time-honored deceptive force that you'll find very useful. If you learn nothing else from this video, you got a trick here. You say, look, shuffle in the deck. You just, expert at work, expert at work. Just say stop, friend, anytime. Stop, okay, concentrate on your card. Concentrate, concentrate. 3 of clubs, bang, trick. So that's Hindu Shuffle as a force. Likewise, as a key card placement. A key card is where you might know the bottom card, and as you shuffle the pack, and let's say your friend has picked the 6 of hearts, shuffle the deck, say stop, friend. Put your card back where you said stop. Now when I drop the rest on top, that's going to place my key card next to the selection. That's a sleight of hand way to place a key card, something you might be familiar with, but we will talk about that more in an upcoming lesson. So now you know how to get there. All right, so there we go. We got the Overhand Shuffle Jogs, the Riffle Shuffle, keeping cards on the top. Maybe try the Triumph Shuffle out if you want to go in the deep end. And we've learned the Hindu Shuffle. I'm going to super suggest everyone watching this goes to Amazon and gets this book. This book, it has wonderful illustrations that take you step through step of each move. There'll be bonus tips that I'm probably forgetting to say. Oh, look, subliminal advertising. I guess I need to read the history of Mark Wilson. Note to self, read the history of Mark Wilson. All right, let's do some fun stuff. We've talked about the shuffling, some of the hard moves. I know a lot of people want to learn some of the fun things to do, some of the flourishes. You know, like I opened the video with springing the cards. That's a hard one, but let's talk about maybe, here's a good one to learn, the ribbon spread. The ribbons, pick a card, any card. This is a lovely way to present a simple display of skill while integrating it into a trick moment. Anytime, if you're going to do skillful things, if you can have it make sense, like, hey, pick a card. Now, instead of just going, hey, look at me, you know. So ribbon spread, I'm using a close-up pad here. This is going to be real helpful. This is like a big mouse pad. A mouse pad is not as soft as a magician's close-up pad. This one is by Patrick Przecki. Magical Mats by Patrick, or Patrick's Magical Mats, if you want to Google that. He makes the best in the business. They're a little more expensive, but they're well worth it. And on Conjure.com, I'll be adding some wonderful large pads we're getting from Murphy's Magic. Those will be available soon, and you can check that out on our magic shop at the website. But yeah, soft surface. You can get a carpet square. You can even use a towel or maybe your rug, but a soft surface is going to make the ribbon spread much easier. And to do this, it's pretty simple. It's almost just one finger controlling it, but I'm going to use these two, the thumb and the second finger, to kind of brace the deck as I do this. It's a downward pressure, so I'm pushing down on the deck with the finger, and then I'm letting cards escape off the tip of that forefinger as I press down and smear them to the side. You'll want to start small, something like that. Get good at doing that, get a little bigger, and before you know it, you'll be ribbon spreading. And once you learn to ribbon spread, take the end one and use it to flip the cards over. That'll put you in a nice position where you can do this thing. Ooh, fancy. Or you could ribbon spread and use two cards, and when I do this, I'll take one from the top and one from the bottom. And then you could push opposites and get the spread to break right in the middle. So push away and then pull in. Now we get this fancy double. Woo-hoo. And that's the ribbon spread, probably the most attainable card flourish. Related to that, and one that's probably worth learning, is the card fan. There's a few ways you can do this. The thumb fan is what we're going to talk about. There's also, Mark Wilson describes a few, the pressure fan. The thumb fan, first of all, again, a good deck of cards. It's same with the ribbon spread. If your cards are in good shape, you're going to find this a lot easier to do. The thumb fan, you begin with the deck held between your thumb and your first finger, kind of a clamp in that position. The thumb's going to provide a pivot point for the deck in the left thumb. And the right thumb is just going to smear cards in a kind of a horseshoe pattern, which makes this action. I'll kind of aim this down so you can see it from the top angle here. Thumb fan. Not a lot more to be said about this. Just practice your tension. The thumb is pushing down at the corner. Remember, that's the pivot spot. And kind of like the ribbon fan, you're just going to let those cards come off the tip of your thumb one at a time. Or close to that. You're also in a good position here to close the fan with one hand. I'm not going to discuss that now, but I did a short form video on that. If you want to search it, one hand fan close. It's a bit advanced, but worth learning. And that's the fan. Also, another important card flourish that is useful is a one-handed cut. This is the Charlier cut. This is kind of the standard. There's a few ones. That's Daryl's Hot Shot cut. This is the backwards version of that, the Revolution. But the one you want to start with is the Charlier cut. Charlier cut. So we're back in that straddle kind of grip, the pinky and the forefinger at the end, the two fingers on the side. This is going to start elevated, so it's going to be up somewhat, and then your thumb is going to allow about half of the deck to drop down. So straddle that deck, bring it to the top, allow your thumb to drop about half the deck down, then your forefinger goes under that and pushes up, and then allows that to fall on the bottom half. So thumb lets the packet drop, forefinger pushes up, it drops, and that's the Charlier cut. I'll mention this can be used as a control. Most often it involves having the deck crimped, and we'll talk about crimps at another time, but if I put like a bend in the top half one way and a bend in the top half the other way, you can kind of see how that's happening. If I cut that into the middle, now there'll be a natural break kind of forming in the middle of the pack. This is really exposed, but the advantage of a Charlier cut is it allows you to hit that break. So say you had aces up here and someone had cut them into the deck, you have a spectator cut them in. If you claim it back, give it a Charlier, you can cut those cards right back to the top, or the bottom in this case. So that's the Charlier cut, a useful, attainable flourish. And lastly, I'll just mention the springing the cards. This is the most advanced of all the techniques we're talking about here. It's also in the Mark Wilson course. I describe it clearly there. You're basically bending the deck and allowing cards to shoot off the tip of your fingers from one hand to the other. Thumbs at the back, four fingers at the front. The two fingers are the main control points. And the right hand, kind of like that Hindu shuffle grip, receives the cards as they fly from hand to hand. Springing the cards. It's a crowd favorite if you can learn it. Okay, so we got the shuffles down, we got some flourishes. I'm going to teach you 2 card sleights, and then we're going to go over one of the world's best card tricks. The card slides I want to discuss are how to do a pinky break and then how to use double turnover with the pinky break. To do this little lesson, let's go back to the first thing we talked about, the jog shuffle. Remember when you're overhand shuffling and you jog one card in and shuffle off and leave that card jogged? And I said you either shuffle or cut to that jog. Alternatively, you might want to form a break at that spot and hold that position. So this is a little pinky break. Just the tip of your little pinky goes into that gap in the deck. And this happens if this was a jog shuffle. Like I have that card jogged. As I close the deck, lift up slightly on that card and then insert the pinky into that gap. That is the pinky break. Pinky break. It's that simple. Pinky holds a break. Now this is going to be most useful in the upcoming move, the double lift. And we're going to just explain a simple technique here. What the double lift does is it allows you to show a card where we got King of Hearts there, and then you can magically change it into another card. The Jack of Clubs, what just happened? Well, here's what happened. When I spread the deck, as I close the spread, I get a little finger break under the top two cards. So a little casual gesture, and then as I close, I get that little finger in that corner. You know, try and be subtle here. You don't need a lot, just a little bit, just like a little teeny bit. And now the double lift. I'm going to take the cards above that break into my right hand and lift both of them and present them as one. Now there's a lot of elegant ways to do this. This is the Die Vernon double lift. That's one you might consider. But we're just going to grab it and biddle grip by the ends, flash it, put the two down, say something, and then come back to the deck. Same grip, lift the top card off, and the card is changed. So that's the little pinky break, maybe after a casual show, and that is the double lift technique that allows you to change one card into another. And repeating, all of this is re-explained in the Mark Wilson wonderful complete course in magic. Get this book. All right, so there you go. A few card moves and techniques that you can put. Oh, I forgot. I was going to do one of the world's best card tricks. Let's do that now. One of the world's best card tricks. Let me present it to you as though you were here. Now, this is actually a pick a card trick, so you have to have a card selected. I'm just going to grab one out at random, and you can remember it. You don't have to remember it, but without that information, there's no plot. So I'll just shuffle the cards, and we'll just drop that card right back in there. I'll use a simple magic move to find the card. Here's the magic move. You know what that does? It hurts my finger. It's magic with comedy. No extra charge for the comedy. Now here's what happens. It makes one card. If you know what you're looking for, I have a trained eye, so I'm able to tell the one card that's a little, oh, I think I see something here. Did you happen to pick is it the 7 of diamonds? Is that yours? Hang on, no, the fun's just begun. I'm going to do it again, even though you didn't ask. Let's pick a different card, though. Here. If you were here, you could just say stop, but I'm just going to stop somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. You remember that card. That'll be our second selection. Same move. One of the cards changes from red to blue. One of the cards changes from red to blue. That'll be your selected second selection, the Ace of Diamonds. What just happened? Wow. The Red Hot Mama just happened, or the Chicago Opener. It's one of the world's great sleight of hand mysteries that is attainable using the moves we just discussed. And to tell you what I did right now. First thing I did was have a secret setup in the box. I had the blue-backed Ace of Diamonds, and I had the red-backed Ace of Diamonds. And I had those just chilling out in the box the whole time while I was talking about the other stuff. And what that allows me to do is put the deck away, and I'm just moving those cards so they're on the face of the deck. And I go, oh, afterthought, I forgot. I wanted to show you a trick. So now that's a fun, sneaky way to get your setup onto the bottom of the deck. You can just start with it there. I do that a lot of the time too, but if you need to know how to get into it, now you do. All right, so select a force card and odd backer on the bottom of the deck. Odd backer's lowermost. Begin this Red Hot Mama trick, the Chicago Opener, just spread from the top. And take note, you could do some of those shuffles, like an overhand shuffle. Just put the cards back. Don't shuffle into the bottom. You can do a riffle shuffle, leaving those cards on the bottom. Oh, it's useful. Remember how we talked about the Hindu? Leave them on the bottom. You can do all that first before you say, hey friend, pick a card. So your friend picks a card. Any card will work. Don't spread down here. If you expose this blue back prematurely, it's a different trick. It's not magic. So your friend picks a card. We're using the Jack of Spades in this instance. Use the Hindu Shuffle key card placement. So start the Hindu Shuffle until your friend says stop. And when they stop you, that's where the card goes back, and you drop the rest of the cards on top, which will put the blue backer right atop their selection. It's the key card placement we talked about. Do your hocus pocus. When you're ready to make the magic moment, spread through the deck, put everything above the top blue card to the side. Now we're going to square up. It's a little bit askew. As I square, I get that pinky break for that double lift we talked about. So square up the deck, the little pinky holds a break. You're ready to do the double lift. Grab the cards by the end and show your friend the card they just picked. It's a pretty strong moment. As they react to that, put the double back down on top and deal the top card to the table, and then put this pile on the rest of the deck. What that procedure does is place your force card at the face of the pack, and that's going to lead into the force, the Hindu force, which we use. So the handlings are congruent. Your friend says stop, and you say, okay, friend, just remember this card this time. I usually use 2 spectators if I'm doing this trick, but you can use the same one. Or nobody. I'm doing it for nobody. Anyway, there's the second card. Do your magic. Feign disappointment, like you're looking for the one card that changes to blue, and then realize, oh, there's the blue card, your selection. Bing, bada, boom. A nice color changing swaparoo. It's just a fantastic trick. All you need is one extra odd back duplicate, and that's the Red Hot Mama. It'll serve you well your whole life if you learn it. It has for me. I do it all the time. So there you go. That's your lesson. We got maybe a dozen card moves in, some good information. Got the Mark Wilson course we talked about, and this is the first of what we'll be doing this every Wednesday. So like I said, subscribe and follow, do all that jam, and maybe share the video. That helps the algorithm, and that helps me help you. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your energy and attention, and stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video.